So today we want to talk about what it means not running to Mars.
Not running to Mars. That's your concept.
Yeah.
So, how did that come about?
So I was I was trying if I could express in one concept, you know, how to express my gratitude toward everything I received and how to be clear about my commitment, about my work. How could I put that in one sentence or in one concept? It wasn't easy, to come with it. And I remember it was after a conversation with you about something we're talking about social media. I don't remember what it was. And I went walking through the city, and then I got until where you have the big UN building. And I was looking at the UN building, and I was looking at the water and seeing what the United Nations is supposed to represent, and seeing that piece of the water in New York, and thinking if I would need to scream something to all the people in that building, not the specific people, but what the UN represent, which is where we're supposed to collectively decide what we're going to do, what would I scream if I could say one sentence? And it came out: I'm not running to Mars. You know, and what does that mean, I'm not running to Mars? So some of my friends say, I don't understand you, Will, because you like technology, you enjoy reading about astrophysics, you enjoy exploring. Why would you say we shouldn't go to Mars? No, I'm not saying we shouldn't go to Mars. That's something different. I'm saying I'm not running away to Mars. You know, that concept of not running to Mars for me means so much. For example, you can say, okay, I'll build, let's dismantle it piece by piece. You can say, okay, I will build a few spaceship to take how many of us? We're 8 billion. How many of us out there? If we cannot solve our problem here on Earth, so you're gonna take 8 billion people somewhere else. You're definitely not talking for everyone, no? Because if we're talking about escaping to where? How many people? And again, that's when it comes. It's about thinking for everyone is the commitment of not running to Mars. Because the moment you realize you have to deal with this planet, the moment you realize that we're smart enough, we have enough knowledge, enough technology, if we can match things well and we assume our responsibility that we are the species that has outnumbered and outsmart all the others on this earth, and we're part of it like all the others, we can first become smarter here and then decide what to do. Because it's like, if you don't have your house in order, how can you run somewhere else? What are you going to solve somewhere else? I'll give you the example that always comes to my mind. Imagine you're a bachelor. So when you're a bachelor, you don't really think too much. It's okay, it's a stage of life. You spend, outspend, you make enough money. Then, for some reason, you decide to settle. You find someone you like. Maybe you're even lucky you find someone you love. But more importantly, you find someone you can deal with to have a project together. And you say, you know what? Let's help each other out. And we start having children. we'll share with those children everything we've received. That is our relationship with planet Earth. And when we start settling, I treat you well, you treat me well, and like all species, we are given the gift of life, which is the gift to reproduce. We have children. But there is a balance that goes. We need to keep that balance. It's a cycle of nurturing. Now, if along the way we have 2 children, we have 3, and for some reason we have to sit because things are not going well. The way we had the balance before was okay for 1 child, but it's not enough for 3. And we want to have more because we want to keep helping each other out and building that relationship of life, nurturing one another. And your answer is, you know what? I don't have to deal with that right now. I'm just going to chase some of the young girls out there
Right.
and see if that's more interesting. I mean, that's not the way adults deal with things.
There are some adults that will get to a point where that becomes empty, but there are some adults that'll never get to that point. And it's not an age thing. It's not even a maturity thing. It's just, I don't know. There are just some people who get to where that's not what they want, and other people who they'll do that to the day they die.
To do what exactly?
To continue on that sort of empty cycle of having to avoid, I guess, staying on the planet.
Avoid the relationship.
Yeah, which is, how you would define being on a planet, and
Exactly.
then, the rest of the emptiness of it, or, the chasing around.
Exactly.
I guess that's the running away
Exactly.
component of it. And it's really an individual thing, I guess, of when you get to a point where you do or don't want that, or if you ever get to that point. And some people never had an interest in that.
Yes, I understand completely.
Yeah.
I understand completely. And
And
that's
I really believe it's not an age thing. I really, like, everybody
I
always says
agree.
people outgrow that, people outgrow that. Well, no, they don't.
No.
There are some people who, at 18, they want a relationship and, to get married or whatever. And there are some people at 88 who still don't want that.
exactly.
So, yeah, it's just an interesting way we're wired. Or I would even say it's more than just the experiences of which you have, which I would almost think there's something in the DNA that comes with that as to, at what point on a personal level we decide, what it
Yeah.
is that we want
Yeah.
on the planet in a personal relationship.
But it's funny. I love that we're taking it to that point of relationship, because every time I'm looking about relationship between stars and planets and around, I see the same thing with relationship in a family, with friends, even with the influencers on Instagram. You see the same kind of dynamic. I always see the same kind of dynamic, But there is a reason why you stay around. There's a reason you go away. I like to say, like, love. There's a sentence that came to me, like, love is like the gravitational pull,
Yeah.
because it keeps things coming back at each other
Yeah.
in sort of an harmony. You don't know why you circle around the people you love. You don't know why. You go away, but you always come back.
Yeah.
Even if you're not there, you think about them, And when I look at my scream of I'm not running to Mars, it's just like we forgot that relationship with this planet. We need to go back. We need to remember that as long as we keep that relationship going, we will still live on this planet and do whatever we want to do, because we're smart enough. We're smart enough. But we've been playing at each other instead of playing with each other. And that is an incredible waste of resource and energy on the wrong subject. Now I understand it's not easy to see it that way, because, and that's why I say I'm so thankful for the things that I've experienced. That's why I say those things, you know. Because when you take a very smart guy, 15 years old, your family already tell you where you want to go to study. If you don't have the money like most people, you will go and you'll have debt. By the time you finish your work, if you're really smart, you have done internship in so many of those big corporations, hoping to get a job. So most people's creativity is between 20 and 35 years old. So you will go into that company and you will do whatever you're asked for to keep doing that company's purpose without asking you yours. And in exchange, you get money to pay for your debt, which is okay, which is completely okay. And I'm talking about the few smart people who are smart enough to get into a good school and get a good job and get a good training. For the rest of the population of this planet, they don't even understand what that means.
Yeah.
If you understand that more than 50% of this planet lives on $5 a day,
Yeah.
80% on $10 a day. So the few 5% that are really, 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 really smart, what is their job? Their job is not to run away from the rest. You know, their job is to think how to make available to the rest and close that gap. Now, someone say, I'm just being altruistic. No, I'm wired to survivalship. I mean, my DNA is wired to survivalship. So the responsibility of finding ways to match all worthwhile ideas to the right channel is a survivalship thing. Because we are blessed with 8 billion people. That means randomly, we have 8 billion decisions that can be taken. The way we approach this thing now is because we cannot figure out yet how to make sure that we channel the right decision to the right doors, we create molds. We create influencers. And we're trying.
You mean social media? Is that what you're talking about?
Social
when you
media
say
is just one new expression
Right.
of what an influencer is. For example, I was raised thinking of Napoleon. Okay, that's
Sure.
an influencer. I can think of Einstein. That's another influencer.
Sure.
You know, so what I'm trying to say is, before I even, and that's why I was taking the example of those young kids, before you even stop and understand what is your uniqueness, you're already trying to emulate someone else.
Right.
And what we're doing with that is, instead of having 8 billion possible solutions to a problem, we probably have 5 people and everyone else trying to think like them.
Right.
So what you just did with that population is, instead of being smarter, we become dumber by the 5 prototypes that we're trying to follow.
Trying to follow as opposed to carve our own path.
Exactly.
You know, just on an off note from that, I always found I lived in Los Angeles for a long time. And, you know, you're surrounded by very wealthy, successful terms, you know, entertainment industry dominated people. And I always found it to be really fascinating because you had all these people that, you know, won awards, whatever it was, that living the dream, quote unquote. And yet it always felt like they were so empty and always trying to find meaning in their lives. And you see it now on Twitter when they engage in political things they know nothing about, or try to express opinions here, or do this or do that. And it's just always funny to me because it's like, yeah, you have all these riches and this sort of platform and influence, and yet with so many of them that is such emptiness inside, and they want to be taken seriously because their biggest fear is, yeah, sure, I'm famous, but I'm not really taken seriously in the world. And you just see it now in social media and sort of the political posturing and everything. And I always just found it to be this strange, insecure dynamic that existed around me. And it was always like, on one hand, you appreciated that they were trying to use their influence for something more than just, being on a TV show and reading lines.
Yes.
But then, it was just sort of a strange dichotomy of, well, what is the appropriate thing you do with that platform then? Because you're trying to be a political person here, but you really know nothing about what you're talking about. So, how do you use your platform for good? Sure, you can bring awarenesses to good causes, I guess, or how do you find your own path in being able to have influence? So I always really admire, there are always certain new celebrities that really find a passion and really pursue that and define themselves through that. And you can really, I think, tell the genuine from the ones that are just sort of grasping at straws and doing it for public perceptions.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's like the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
In the end, we're all human. It doesn't matter how much smoke and mirror you have around yourself. Like I always say, in the end, is understanding your purpose in life. If you don't understand your purpose in life, money just magnify it.
Yeah.
It's like I always say, money is just a magnifier. If you're stupid, it makes you more stupid. If you're smart, it makes you more smart, because you can expand whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
So and again, it's like so when I'm saying that scream of not running to Mars, it's a stop. Stop. I'm not following. Let me think first. Let me understand how much I can do. Let me understand what's already available to me, instead of trying to sell me the next big thing. Because if you look at it, it's the same logic again. I am in that relationship where we have children, and I just need to think, how do we keep expanding and we keep nurturing that love relationship between each other? And instead of taking that mature step, I say, let me see what else is out there. Let me run away. And when I'm saying I'm not running to Mars, it's like, I fundamentally believe, and that is core to my life, that every problem, well explained, can be solved. Now, why is that such a difficult thing to do? The first problem we have is we do not want to go to layers and layers and layers of peeling the onion, because it's painful, It's painful, you cry. We don't want to do that. Why don't we want to do that? Because we want to too fast show the other person, or show to ourselves we know the solution. And we're trying to come up with solution we used in the past to solve something that is happening today that has absolutely nothing to do with who I am, what I think I am, what I think I understand. I need to look at my problem in front of me right now. Forget everything you've assumed so far. Forget everything. And that's why I see even history is a danger again, because if I look at history, I can assume that you have different cultures, different way of lives. Yeah, that's one angle of looking at it. But when you look from the outside of this planet, all you see is one race, one genetic code that is trying to survive in symbiosis with the biosphere. We need to assume that's what we are. We need to assume it. Otherwise, again, we're wasting the only resource we're allocating wrong, which is time. Time to solution, which is how fast can I find the solution based on the resources I have available. And you only come to that when you come to uniqueness of purpose, so simple, and concentration of energy. Also so simple. Why is it so hard? It's really hard. It is really, really hard
To concentrate?
to understand. So I'll tell you something. It's a little story. It's a Zen story. A student knocks on the temple's door to get in. The Zen master answered, "Who is it?" The pupil responded, "It's me." And the Zen master said, "Take me to infinity or take it to zero." You can continue that cycle. Because if the student didn't get the message, he will knock again on the door to ask the same question, trying to get in. And the Zen master said, "Take me to infinity or take it to zero." What is that cycle? So, I remember I read this like 20 years ago. And it always come back. And you have different understanding of what it means. Today, for me, what it literally means is the moment you understand there is no me different than the rest, you either take it to infinity, that means you assume responsibility for everything around you, everything on this planet, each individual assume that, or you take it to zero, which is you take away completely what you think you need against the other, you get to the same conclusion. What is that conclusion? We are already sharing one fate because we're all on this ship, which is called a planet. No matter how you want to look at it. It's like family in fighting. I can fight with my dad, with my mom, with my children, whatever it is. But in the end, the families that do survive is because they understand they're one.
How many more marriages would survive if people remembered they're on the same side instead of the other, you know?
Exactly.
I think that's always a key.
Exactly. And that's what not running to Mars means. It has so many connotations for me, but the way it happened is because I saw myself. If I could scream, "I'm not running." Now, that means if you guys want to take a ship and live, okay, I'll hang out with the homies behind and we'll find a way out. I've done some running in my life. That's why I know it doesn't solve anything.
Yeah.
You run away from problems.
They'll always catch up to you.
Yeah, they do. They do. I don't know. Because because what you need to realize is that you need to confront them and deal with them.
What about all the people that said they were going to leave and move to Canada when Trump was elected? None of them left.
You're bad. You like that. You like having your laugh.
I just remember they're all moving to Canada, and then none of them did.
Come on.
Unfortunately.
What's funny? What's funny about the way we approach this? We think so differently on so many things. Mm-hmm. That's why I think it makes for a great conversation for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I always get to learn the other angle with you, and I really appreciate that.
Well, it's one of the big things I think people, what they're finding and why people are doing a lot of psychedelics is it really forces you to confront things inside you that you may have suppressed or been running away from mentally or emotionally, and I think that's one of the the healing remedies of a lot of ayahuasca and DMT and a lot of those things, and why they're finding them to be really beneficial from a medical point of view is it forces you to really confront and deal with with the things that you would otherwise want to run away from.
Yeah, I've read some papers. John Hopkins has a lot to say about that, and then there is a guy I follow his work, which is Paul Stamets.
I interviewed him once.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, Boston guy, right?
yeah,
MIT guy.
yeah.
Yeah, really,
It's-
really a nice character. Really a warm, lovely, smart human being. I very much enjoyed my conversation with
Yeah,
him.
he says a few interesting things that I do agree with. Some I don't, some I do. Like everything, you know.
Yeah, of
But
course.
I really appreciate the work he's doing, and especially explaining mycelium, explaining the part I connected the most with his work is when he's explaining how the mushroom web underneath the planet is actually probably the smartest being on Earth. Of course, and the funny thing about it is we define smart and intelligence based on what we think is smart is intelligent.
Book smarts and
Exactly.
intelligence. Yeah.
And we don't understand, for example, the universe is smart, even if it's not talking to us.
Our bodies are extremely smart.
There we go.
Yeah.
So you might not know how to listen, but that doesn't mean it's not talking.
Yeah.
And that's so that angle of understanding the amount of knowledge in the mycelium and how to, at some point, even in one of his books, something interesting that even said is like maybe we'll have a microchip, like a computer that can translate the knowledge into those web to help us heal ourselves and heal the planet because they have so much knowledge. But again, I mean, he said a few things that I think are worth sharing. Some other things I think I don't fully agree, but doesn't mean anything. That's what I love about this world. It's like so many angles because we need to attack this on many angles. But I know John Hopkins is doing a lot of research on how, from the neurotransmitters aspect of changing how that affects your capability to confront certain hard things.
Yeah.
I even saw something on the TV. I don't watch TV, but someone told me that 60 Minutes something that a woman that was going to,
Yeah, I did see that
You saw
segment.
that one?
Yeah, yeah.
and she was able to accept her death. Or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, that they were they did a segment on, people's being able to
Yeah.
find peace, I guess,
Yeah.
in that experience.
But the whole thing we're talking about is how fast can you become an adult? Which is
Right.
how fast can you understand what is obvious?
Yeah.
Which is at some point you are married with children.
Right. And
You
there's a
need-
responsibility that
It's your
comes with that. Of
responsibility.
course.
You cannot run away to and the funny thing about it. So
Yeah,
when
once
you say
once you have that kid, I mean, once you're in it.
you're in it.
I mean, and it's yeah, you're in it. You're in it.
And the funny thing is, you say, yeah, but so you cannot, when I say we, I'm talking the human DNA, is not able to live symbiotically with the planet that gave birth to you. And you still want to tell me we're going to Mars to live, not to explore, but to live because that's our future. And then when you say, no, but we don't even know if you can live there, you say, no, we'll nuke them. So understand the logic of this. First of all, we don't understand what's going on Mars enough. Okay? But the first relationship you want to have is let me send some nuclear bomb as my signature of welcoming. This is who I am. I bomb things I don't understand. How can that be intelligent? It might be smart because it will drive a lot of social media and the algorithms will eat on it when you say something like that. But it's not intelligent because what's happening is,
Well, there's a reason nobody's used nuclear weapons since 1945. I mean, the threat is there, but nobody's actually used them.
yeah. But the point is, you're saying the way I say hello to another planet is by sending a nuclear bomb first.
Who's sending a nuclear bomb?
But that's the logic. You know what I mean? The logic is this is the kind of people who want me to follow them. I mean, and I think that's why it's dangerous for the young guys, the youngsters, and the young women out there because you say, oh, it's actually a funny thing to think about. Yeah, but I'm not running to Mars. I need to deal with my adult relationship with this planet, when I can do that, everything else becomes simpler. Because if I do not solve my problem here, understanding that I need to allocate my resources better, understand that we already have everything we need. To understand that, we need to stop playing at each other to play with each other.
Sure.
We simplify the equation. We simplify so much. Will we get there? I don't know. But I'm not even optimistic. I know that is the solution. It doesn't matter how long it takes us. Only that way can we get out.
Right.
Only that way can we get out. And that's why I like that we're 8 billion different angles.
I just think the way most structures are set up, it's not really to be all that unified.
No.
Even though most of us are, we're all quite unified in terms of what we have in common, but I think, there's a lot of money to be made in division, I guess.
Yeah. So there is something I say usually, and I say that a lot, is like, most people don't even know how to be selfish.
Right.
Because their definition of the self is wrong.
Right.
So what I mean by that is usually we optimize short term because that's all we can know. But if we would look at the bigger picture, we would be surprised of how much more money we can make. I mean, what is money? So the way I like to people to understand that is, when you look at something like Bitcoin, I know you don't like Bitcoin, you don't like blockchain, but just bear with me.
No, sometimes I don't like it. It's just not my thing.
I know, and I'm not going to talk about technical. I'm just going to share one angle of it, which for me is still a surprise every day.
Yeah.
Okay? So I have a bunch of friends who can explain to you why there's the value in it, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
They will talk about nodes, a bunch of things. Then I have my other friends from finance, that can come and explain to you from an equation of money, why the price is the price, okay? And I enjoy talking to all of them because, that's how you keep learning. But for me, the phenomenon about this thing, even if we don't understand it, you know why there is value in it? Because everybody else says so. All of a sudden we realize that the only things that have value is the things we value.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is that has value today is because you value it. The moment you stop giving it value, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look again at social media, being an influencer and all this thing, okay? What is the value of an influencer? The people following it. So what is the power of an influencer? The people who wants to be influenced by them. But each individual trying to follow an influencer think that the influencer is more powerful than he or she, which is in reality the other way around, because what you were able to solve is a technological platform in the middle, which is a relationship between leaders and followers, however you want to look at it in different angles. And we forgot that in the end, we could be living in a world where each one is an influencer, because in the end we are.
Of course, we're all influencers in different capacities and different components of our lives.
It's like when I read, all those stories about wars, about how Napoleon did this, how Rommel did that, how Patton did this, different generals.
Mm-hmm.
But they did it because they were, each individual were the soldiers,
right,
who had families, who had children, who believed in what they told them they had to do. So there's no general without people following you. And the incredible thing about groups is, even if the general tells me, let's go left, but what makes me go left is when I look at my friend, my brother, he's going left with me. Again. So whatever that general did is because when I look at my brother, it wasn't about the general. It was about, is that what we need to do to survive? And when I see that in his eyes, we move together. Now, if we think, and I cannot see that in the eyes of my brother, why would I move? Again, why would I move? And then the moment you stop giving value, the value disappears. Because the only thing of value is the relationship to the guy in my neighborhood, is the relationship with the guy across the street that I'm having.
But survival is your form of value. That is why you're doing it, irrespective of whether you're looking into someone else's eyes or not.
Exactly.
You're doing that because survival is what you've assigned the value to.
Yes.
And you believe that is the best path for that.
That is the best. Because, I made a joke once talking to a professor, a very smart professor. Probably he'll win a Nobel Prize at some point. It doesn't matter. But I told him, I don't know if that lunch went well or not. But at some point I said, look, when I was younger, I wanted to run fast, and I kept running fast, and I realized I was running alone. And you know what I realized? It's not fun. It's not fun running alone.
Running alone from what to what?
So it's like,
Because I love running alone.
you love running alone.
I do. I love being independent. I love being a free spirit. I love not having people around me to weigh me down to some degree or to try to pull
Okay.
my mind in a different direction. And I'm very
Okay.
stubborn sometimes which can be a plus and a minus.
Okay.
But I quite love being on a path that is mine.
Yes. Okay. So that's good that you said that. Because I do believe each one needs to be on their own path.
Yeah.
But being on your own path cannot be achieved if all the other things that need to be taken care of, no one else is taking care of them.
Right.
So in the end, the privilege of being myself is a gift from everyone else being themselves and doing their job. Because there's no way I can express myself fully if each person doesn't do their part. And that's what I realized. What I realized is, in order for each human being to be full, you have to help everyone else being complete. That's where you take the weight away from your shoulders. And that's how
Right.
you get faster to solutions.
Right.
And those type of architecture, and then I'm jumping again, because those type of architectures, we can do them today. We're just not thinking about them because we're using algorithms to maximize other things. But it's okay. It's just that's why I say people usually are not selfish enough, because they define the self too narrow. Because if you expand understanding what the self is, you actually make more money. But it's okay. I don't know how long we'll take to get there, but it's okay. But that's the path I'm on. That's what I'm building. That's what I'm doing. But we'll see. And I enjoy the mistakes I make. I enjoy, that I'm always one step away. When I talk to my friends, say, "How are you doing?" I say, "I'm one step away from disappearing, but I'm also one step away from the Big Bang."
Yeah, right.
And I live there.
Yeah.
I live at that limit.
On that precipice of yeah.
And you know what it does to me? It keeps me humble, because I have absolutely no time to be proud of anything I've done. Because everything I've done just got me to the point so I can make my next decision, which everything depends on.
Right.
And only living at that point, I feel free.
Right.
Free from my past, free from everything, because I need to do my next decision and be happy about it.
Right.
And that's
And that's something else I see a lot of people that live in their past. They live in their past achievements, and that they can just never find identities beyond that. Beyond what they did that was successful 10, 20 years ago.
Exactly.
And it might be difficult to top, but people live in that. Instead of looking for the next challenge, they still live in that bubble of success of the past without actually recognizing or pushing or even believing that they can do something just as, find that next challenge to conquer. And you see that, I see that a lot just,
Yeah.
I think social media also makes it easy for people to live in that past because you've got your throwback Thursdays
exactly.
and your flashback Fridays and everybody's sort of living in
You have to stay coherent with something. What?
Yeah, you have to find a new goal and to keep pushing. You have to achieve one goal. Maybe take a minute to give yourself acknowledgement for that goal. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
But be quick to move on from it because
Yes.
otherwise you do become a stagnant human being who can only live in the past and not push forward to the next thing.
One of in so it's like the concept of idolatry. Mm-hmm. What is an idol?
Right.
So I'll tell you. So the concept of idol is like you're working for someone else.
Right.
No? So when your past achievement become your own idol, you become that stone.
Right.
Why? Because everything you do today has only one objective, which is reaffirming what I did before.
Right.
And I become stoned. I'm stuck.
Right.
Well, in reality, there is no such thing like the Zen master was saying, take me to infinity or take it to zero. Because if you take me to infinity, my next move has absolutely nothing to do with a specific path my life was on, because that was just one possible path. But what matters next is everything else. Because it is the moment I'm making that decision, that's all there is. Everything I've achieved before, or every dream I have in the future, completely disappear based on my next present decision. When one can have that kind of focus, it only comes at the price of letting go of all your idols, of letting go of everything you're trying to hold on to that doesn't make sense for your next decision.
Right. Or trying to follow a path that's not yours.
Exactly.
And I think people forget no one is you, and that's your power.
And that's why we're 8 billion different angles.
Yeah, and we look up to people. We look up to people, and I think that's great. But then if we can't follow their trajectories exactly and get to their point of success, or whatever, then we feel like failures instead of recognizing that's only part of the path, and ours is different.
Failures to ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we put some.
Well, what is success really?
Here we go.
And I think when we think of success, the first things that come to mind, I'm sure if you ask 95% of people, it will be career, money, and I think we forget the success of to have good personal relationships is a success, an important success, and the definition of and the quality of your relationships can be termed success. So I think that's something we don't always put emphasis on, that other cultures and societies do a lot more than we do.
When there is I usually relate to people who've been through a lot and survived. So Elton John has that incredible song that my son all the time say, put it again. It's I'm Still Standing.
Yeah.
It means so much.
Yep.
It means so much. I think we don't value ourselves enough. Whenever someone tells me, hey, how are things going? My answer is, I'm still standing. We were talking earlier about people who are famous and then still struggling. There's nothing else than struggle in life. I don't know who you are, whatever you have in front of you, you still need to solve that puzzle of life. That's what it is. You need to solve it for yourself, and you cannot solve it by copying someone else. You need to solve it for yourself.
Yeah.
And once you solve it for yourself, the only thing you want to do is help everyone around you to solve it for themselves. Because if you become someone else's idol, you're doomed. Because what you're doing is you're not letting that other person do his work so he can help me do mine faster. You understand where I'm going with
I
it?
think there's nothing wrong with having idols. I think there's always people that we can look up to in life that can give us inspiration when we're
Yes.
feeling lost, when we're feeling a little, disjointed. I think it's kind of nice to have people in different walks of life that you can look to for big and small things. I know I rely on it a lot when I'm feeling discombobulated in some way,
Yeah,
to turn to great writers or great thinkers, great journalists, great it depends on what it is that I'm feeling, but I definitely have a collection of people whose videos I'll look up, or whose books I'll read, or even just quotes I'll look up when I need that source of inspiration. And I mean, I don't generally refer to them in my head as idols, but I guess you could in some way, because they're people that I turn to when I need that boost.
My God.
And I really do rely on that
Yeah.
at times.
You know, that opens the door for me to share some angle about that, which is I do make the difference between the teaching and the teachers.
Yeah.
Because I, like you, relate to incredible poetry, to art, to everything of beauty. There's so many ways. There's beauty in so many things. And even to great, I read a lot. It's just like I'm always trying to find patterns on things. But I do make the difference between the teachers and the teaching. Because what I'm connecting to is the message, not the messenger. Because the messengers come in different form and shape. And they will come and go and disappear. But what stays is the understanding of the message. When we can connect to the message regardless of the messengers, that's where you get rid of idols in your life. Because that message is for you. The messenger got his and represent that piece of art which was his life. But my life cannot be a second copy. I need to take that message from the original source and make my life a different example. So I do connect to those incredible people that were before me, but so I can connect to the message they were connected to. So when I connect to a great piece of poetry, I connect to beauty. When a friend of mine is at the beach on Malibu and take a picture and send that to me, I'm grateful. You understand? I'm grateful to, wow, this is the sun affecting the planet at that different angle. And at that moment, everything else makes sense. Me looking at this, that's beauty for me. It's free.
And no photo will ever be the same. No person will
go.
ever take exactly the same
Exactly
photo.
the
Even
same.
exactly the same thing, exactly the same time of day, whatever.
Exactly.
No one is ever going to take exactly the same photo. And that moment will only exist in that moment and will never be the same again.
And that's the uniqueness. And that's where I say, beware of idols. Connect to the message, but not to the messenger. Be thankful for the messenger, but do not judge him or put him more than he is or less than he is, because he's just another human being like you.
Yes.
But the message is the beauty. And connect to that message and be thankful, however it came to you. So, and that's the way I see it. And that's why I'm so optimistic that, I don't know, maybe I'm too optimistic. But when I look around, the things I can solve in terms of technology, I say, if I can think of them, it's because everyone else is already thinking of them. So I never think that I'm smarter than anyone else. Like I said, it's a question of incentive,
Right.
of realization, what I need to do with the tools. But the tools are already there. The tools are already there. And I think we need to stop treating symptoms as root cause. Symptoms are symptoms. When I look at climate change, for me, that's a symptom. When I look at conflict, wars, for me, that's another symptom. Because the root cause is, with time, things get complex. That's a law of nature, which is called entropy.
Yeah.
As time goes by, aging comes. Aging is a function of entropy. Things get more and more complex. So for you to solve entropy, it never solve. It's never solvable. It's an infinite dance. You do. What you're trying to solve is how my internal balance can deal with the external imbalance. Because every system with time becomes more complex and tend out of going in disorder. So you need to put more and more energy into simplifying things so you can keep moving forward without breaking. That's the relationship we're having with this planet right now and with the whole solar system. We haven't been moving fast enough to understand how to deal with those things because we're playing around at each other still. But the consequence is we can jump because it's quantum leaps.
Yeah.
You can jump and solve it, or you don't jump and you don't solve it. Either way, I'm not running to Mars. Because I'm the kind of guy that I see the solution, I cannot stop until I make it happen. That's my life.
Right.
And I enjoy the journey in itself. And because I'm so wired to, there's a bunch of other things that can distract your brain. Statistics is one of them, but let's not go to that conversation now. But when you get to the root cause of things, and I need to make a move, I am concentrating on making this planet better for my children. That's
Right.
where all my energy is.
That's your motivator.
That's where all my energy is. Because the decision of going to the mountain by myself, I took that a while ago. I thought I could retire and go to a mountain and still meditating for so long.
Right.
And then I realized I cannot escape, because if I'm in the same boat and there's a guy at the corner making a hole in that boat, he's gonna sink us all.
Yeah.
So me retiring to the mountain and meditating like I wanted to do 15 years ago doesn't solve it. So the way you do that is you commit more. Okay, you get married, you have children. Now I wake up in the morning and I look at my son and I say, you know what? I'm gonna make this the best I can. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's a great source of motivation.
And that's the way I approach it. And it's so much fun because I've learned to not take myself so serious anymore. You
Right.
know? Because
And that's important too, yeah. I mean, I love, I love the idea of people that want to achieve great things and big things. And I have to admit, though, I cringe. And I have one particular friend, and
Yeah.
when he always says that he plans to save the world, I just want to
come on.
I grit my teeth and I go, okay, cool. In my head, I'm just like, oh my God, please give me a fucking break. Because we can't take ourselves that seriously.
No.
As much as we'd all love to save the
Yeah.
world, it's not something that you can save small increments of it and impact different people's lives.
You
But
can
I think
do your job.
I think we get a little bit delusional sometimes in certain aspects. So it is
No.
part of enjoying the journey that we are on, and not being the tortured artist of of people of the past, and being able to sort of find that
Yes.
delicate balance of seriousness and progression with
Yes.
with just enjoying the ride and smiling through it.
And having great people around.
The
is
quality of the
always
relation,
best.
yeah. I really believe that as a society, if we valued that aspect of looking at the quality of our relationships as being equally as a point of success as a certain salary or career trajectory or whatever, and if we just really viewed that as being a pillar of success, I really think that we would we'd have a different mentality in a different world.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, that's it. I know out there's a bunch of very smart people who enjoy the game of life.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's the game we're playing. It's the
and
game of
each
staying
life
alive.
is different. Yeah, each life is different,
Yes.
and I'm not one to follow down the whole. Everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people talk about. Oh, but you've got to have balance in this and this. Well, to be truly, really the best and the greatest at what you do, if that's what you want, you're not going to be a balanced person. There's no way any of the best
Mm-hmm.
are, no matter what industry they're in,
What do you
There's-
mean that you cannot be balanced and be?
you're going to be tipping it to one scale. To be the absolute epitome of what you're trying to do,
Uh-huh.
you're never going to be able to devote 40%, 30% to your work, 30% to your family, 30% to whatever, recreation. It's not going to work. If you want to be the best,
I
I'm
see
sure
what
you
you
can
mean.
ask LeBron James. You can probably ask, Steve Jobs if he was alive. They're not going to tell you that they had a perfectly balanced life. And I think that's something we also, if you want to be the greatest, you're going to have to accept that there isn't going to be an equal balance the way that we've judged it in society. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
I think we're so quick to just have to slap certain labels of how life should be. And I know with what I do, it's a sort of career that is very much a lifestyle. It's not, I don't look at myself as having a job. I don't look at myself as even having career. I think what I've chosen to do, which, is as a war reporter and a correspondent, is a lifestyle. When I'm not traveling, whatever, I'm still reading, I'm still learning, I'm studying languages, I'm, talking to friends from different parts of the world, and I'm really trying to develop as much as I can because I love it, because it's part of my lifestyle. And that can be quite confronting, I've learned, for people that want to sit and press me about, but what else do you do? What do you do to decompress? What do you do here? What do you do there? And I kind of have to explain, like, my job is not a 9 to 5. It's not it's a lifestyle job, and I willingly chose that. It's my choice to want to be better at it and the best at it. And my part of my downtime is, in an indirect way, trying to learn more and
Yes.
become better at it. And I'm also just against very much the labeling that we have
About what is success.
About what is success,
Exactly.
but how you should live your life, what a balanced life is, and this whole, what do you do to decompress thing?
But
I'm like, you know what? Fuck you.
But the point is, when I was listening to you
Yeah.
saying you cannot have a balance, I completely disagree. But I wanted to see
No.
where you're going with
Not
it.
to say you can't, just not for everybody. If you want to,
No.
I pretty
in
much
the
will
end-
say 90% of the people at the top of their game, I'm guaranteed they not have a quote unquote balanced life.
But what I understood from your answer,
Yeah.
because while you were saying that, I was listening to you. you know,
Yeah.
and in the end is, you probably won't have balance defined as someone else's balance, but you will have your balance.
You
understand what I
eventually
mean?
you'll
It's like-
find where the scales tip. Yeah.
Because if you're not balanced, you will disappear. You will have nervous breakdown, whatever it is. You will not continue to be on top of your game. So I do believe that any high performer, to perform at his highest, finds his balance. You know what I mean? Because otherwise you cannot stay there long enough to make an impact.
Right.
So when I look at it, and that's where I agree with you, Warren Buffett said, once you find you can make your job what you like, you never work one more day in your life, because you're not working.
Sure.
It's like, in my case, is the moment I find a problem I need to solve, I keep digging, and I know why I'm digging, and you make it, like you said, a lifestyle, but it has to be balanced. But maybe I think what we're saying is, your balance of your life cannot be defined by someone else's balance.
Yes.
You need to, because I do think, so what I usually tell very smart people that are very young when they start, they're usually very strict with others, but even stricter with themselves.
Of course.
And I tell them, stay balanced. It's a marathon. It's a marathon. Do not assume that you know enough that young to be so judgmental. Give yourself a break so you can learn more. Give yourself a break, give others a break. That way you learn way faster.
Right.
Way faster, because the energy you were spending judging, because you had a benchmark of what right and wrong is, you don't use that energy anymore. And you're just open,
Right.
you know? Give yourself a break, give others a break. You're smart enough to handle it.
Right.
And that way, now I agree 100% with you that no one else looking at anyone else's life can define what balance is supposed to be.
Right.
But I can assure you, if you want to be a top performer, you cannot stay top if your life is not balanced. You'll just be a fade.
Right. And there's always going to be a balance, but it's not,
It's
as
not
I'm
permanent.
saying, like, but you aren't going to be working 9 to 5, you know?
No,
You're going to
that
be
doesn't
working
exist.
7 till 11, whatever it is.
That doesn't exist.
Yeah, I mean, I just
I
think
see what you mean.
you're not going to be spending your Friday night every Friday night at the bar. You just, there is a
Yes.
certain, to have that, to be
I
that
understand
extra
what you mean
special
now.
person,
Yeah. I mean,
you
you
have
asked
to
me
put in the extra special.
how many hours you
Yeah.
work a day. I just asked you how many
Yeah.
hours there is in a day.
Yeah.
And that's my answer.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Even when I'm sleeping, I'm thinking about solving faster the
Sure.
problems.
Yeah.
So I get your point. You
Yeah.
know, it's like it's that focus become you and
Yeah.
your lifestyle, and then you're continuously moving
Yeah.
toward that, maintaining that balance with your external, internal. It's constant,
Yeah.
and you
And
don't take yourself too
I mean,
seriously.
I think finding fulfillment
Yes.
is always the key. And I think when we don't find the fulfillment, there's an emptiness in what we're doing. That's when things go south.
Yeah. Yeah. So now I explained to you why I'm not running to Mars.
Right.
and it means way more than just not running to Mars, you know. It's like it's an understanding of how much more we can do. We don't need to be running away from our problems. The running away has to stop. You know, we cannot keep chasing the next.
Yeah.
We need to go back and have that relationship, that adult conversation with the planet
And I
know?
think,
and with each other.
yeah, you'll know what, I think on an individual level, depending on what it is, when you're tired.
Yeah.
You'll get to that point. Some people just need to get to that point where they can't run any further.
Yeah.
Other people
so
a
true.
little bit more self-awareness to stop earlier, but some people just got to burn out first and then
Then they realize.
go,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
right, can't, I'm gonna turn around and do the Forrest Gump thing, and
Yeah,
I'm gonna
that's
go
so
home
true.
now.
That is so true. Thanks, Holly.
Thank you.